Hi everyone, welcome to Jamaica Magazine. It's our pleasure to have you on this half-hour journey through today's pages that are lined with interesting and informative features. Coming up, government bridging the digital divide to learning, and where to get free legal services if you can ill afford to pay. Plus, we'll visit a few of our public gardens. But first up, here's a few important messages and our news round, so stay with us.
Jamaica, I can help you protect our citizens.
Jamaica Eye will play a part in increasing your public safety.
Jamaica Eye is part of an island-wide network of camera surveillance systems designed to increase the safety of you, our citizens. If you have a camera system outside your home or office facing a public space, log on to jamaicai.gov.jm today. Jamaica Eye, we're all connected. The Ministry of National Security, creating a safer and prosperous Jamaica.
Mosquitoes will breed in containers that hold water. Tightly cover water storage containers such as drums, buckets and tanks, or cover the water surface with cooking oil. Punch holes in all tins, plastic containers and boxes to prevent the collection of water before disposal. Cover old ties or fill with dirt. Scrub all vases once per week to remove mosquito eggs and dispose of garbage by placing in plastic bags. Do your part to prevent mosquito breeding. A message from the Ministry of Health.
And now for some of the major stories inside our GOJ News Roundup segment.
In news this week, the Planning Institute of Jamaica PIOJ projected that the Jamaican economy would recover faster from COVID-19 than it did from the 2008-2009 global recession. The PIOJ made the assertion on July 8 in a presentation at the United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. The expectation is that the economy will recover within 2 to 4 years and employment within 1 to 3 years. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark announced a 2-month extension of both the set cash and best cash components of government's COVID allocation of resources for employees care program. Set cash provides monthly grants to individuals who lost their job due to COVID-19, while best cash provides similar support to registered tourism businesses. Both sets of payments will continue up to August. Jamaica is to receive 4.7 million Canadian dollars or 498 million Jamaican dollars to facilitate the payment of premiums to the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility Segregated Portfolio Company. The money is being provided under the Canada CARICOM Climate Adaptation Fund facility and is expected to assist Jamaica's disaster risk financing strategy and help create fiscal space to respond to the COVID-19 crisis. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton reported this week that government had so far spent $3.8 billion of the $6 billion budgeted for COVID-19 containment efforts. He told Parliament that the expenditure covered support to health authorities, acquisition of COVID-19 test kits, prescription drugs, upgrade of hospital infrastructure, retrofitting quarantine facilities, and to isolate and care for patients.
I am comfortable that we have been getting value for money, as evidenced by the slowing of the disease, which has resulted in a less than expected number of cases and hospitalizations here on the island. In fact, Mr. Speaker, Jamaica has so far kept the number of cases below the health system capacity to respond.
Meanwhile, the Health Ministry's Chief Medical Officer announced plans this week to introduce the use of an app for monitoring returning Jamaicans who have been ordered to quarantine at home.
You will be required to put in your temperature and your symptoms on the app, and the health department will be able to monitor you from this.
Still on healthcare, the minister has confirmed the completion of construction on all 4 high-dependency units being built under the program for the reduction of maternal and child mortality PROMAC. He officially opened the 3rd unit on Wednesday at the Spanish Town Hospital.
This facility, which was completed at a cost of some $423 million, that's a lot of money, is going to certainly ensure that the Jamaicans, mothers, supported by fathers, who have to use this facility for themselves and their young or their newborn will have as good as any other facility anywhere. Because it's not just the building, it's the equipment that is there that we will see shortly.
In other news this week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness declared Augustown as the 4th zone of special operation.
The community of Augustown has been assessed as a significant contributor to the level of crime in the St. Andrews Central Police Division, and for some time now has been designated a hotspot within this police area.
Effective July 8, gaming lounges were given the green light to reopen following COVID-19 restrictions.
The decision comes following the development and publication of COVID-19 reopening and operating protocols by the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission in consultation with the gaming lounge operators. The protocols have been reviewed by the Ministry of Health and Wellness and received a no objection from the public health authorities.
Minister of Science, Energy and Technology Favour Williams disclosed that government would distribute 65,000 tablet computers to teachers and students in the 2020-2021 financial year. The minister made the disclosure on Tuesday as she handed over 32 tablet computers to educators at the Hope Valley Experimental School. And finally, all cattle will be required to have air tags and corresponding passports effective January 2021.
All cattle owners therefore now have 6 months to access the free air tags and passport for each head of cattle. And we are urging them all to get those tags now. Tag your animals so we can trace them and keep them out of the hands of the pre-deal thieves.
Are you aware of how Jamaican adolescents use social media? What do they do online? What do they post? Do you know if they are being harassed? These are questions you should be asking yourself because it is your duty to keep your children safe online. Parents, here's what you need to do. Be active online and offline. Help your child to set up his or her online profile. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the different social media applications that they use and set some rules. Protect our nation's children and save them from cybercriminal attacks.
More schools across the island are set to receive broadband internet connectivity as the government is partnering with utility provider ReadyNet TV to provide internet access to schools. The goal is to bridge the digital divide in learning. Watch this.
When I got the call that Ready TV will be providing internet for Tulloch Primary School, it was one of the happiest days in my life. And I want to say a big thank you again, sir, because we will be using this tool to ensure that we move our children to the highest standard of teaching and learning.
Tulloch Primary in St. Catherine is the second of over 200 schools in rural Jamaica that are to receive free unlimited internet access to bridge the digital divide.
We must have connectivity throughout the length and breadth of the country, and that is what this government, and I tell you the Prime Minister is passionate about it, so that you can be able to communicate anywhere at all within Jamaica and outside of Jamaica.
In an effort to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, government moved most classes to cyberspace as it closed schools at the start of the outbreak in March. Though online teaching has ensured that learning continues for most students, this is not the case for all.
During a press conference on May 4, Minister of Education Carl Zamuda revealed that 31,000 children in rural communities were unable to participate in online lessons either because they could not access or afford internet connectivity.
To bridge this digital divide, government has entered into an arrangement with Ready TV to provide satellite connectivity to the rural schools and communities in need.
I had no hesitation in seeing to his engagement in trying to reach out to Jamaica and provide all the schools, all the locations, all the homes where the children and the parents have been denied internet access.
What we're delivering here is a satellite-delivered internet. We are looking at a satellite 22,000 miles away in the sky, and we have literally or virtually parachuted in internet into this location in a matter of a few minutes. We are going to be rolling out that internet across the island to make it available to everybody.
This technology utilizes a wireless connection that involves 3 satellite dishes, one at the internet service provider's hub, one in space, and one at the location of choice. It is fast and can handle high bandwidth usage, so this makes it one of the most efficient forms of connectivity for schools in remote communities like Tolo.
We were able to reach only 65% of our children via internet. And the reasons for that is that a number of communities are having difficulty in terms of connectivity with internet. And so one of the plans that we have to make to facilitate our children is for some children who are not able to have internet access is to provide printed material. So they would not be left behind. And so for this now, for Ready TV to take on this, believe you me, we are so excited, and I know everybody, is jumping over the moon.
But providing satellite internet to rural communities is just one of the projects coming out of the ministry's partnership with Ready TV.
What COVID-19 has done is to expose the fact that we, Jamaica, are a small third world country, and our infrastructure is just that. But it gives us the impetus to improve it, and certainly the ministry has embarked on that in a number of ways. So delivering internet through companies like Ready TV is only one. We've also launched with the ministry an entire educational television channel, 24/7, that's also available.
Mr. Daring says the educational channel, dubbed eHome School Network, has also been launched in collaboration with a number of corporate sponsors. The channel is available to all cable companies. It provides live and recorded educational content and classes to students across the island on both television and the internet.
All the students must be given an opportunity at an early stage of their lives to maximize their potential, and they can only maximize their potential if they are given the facilities, the tools with which to work.
In the promotion of a fair and just society, the Legal Aid Council has been providing free services to persons who are not able to afford legal representation when they come in conflict with the law. This system has been beneficial to many Jamaicans faced with criminal cases or civil disputes. Learn more in this next feature.
Yo. Alright, yo, may I make a call?
Hello?
Yeah, Jen, auntie, just get a call from the station here. Them lock up Johnny.
Lord have mercy. So where them have him there for?
Some gun business in a taxi and them
I feel
something.
out of trouble. Business not even going too right. Oh God.
No man, you not worry about money. You can go to a legal aid council, them have a list of lawyer where let them provide it free.
Alright, me love.
Yeah man, just go down there and talk to somebody.
We will meet you there in a little while.
Johnny's case is one of some 3,000 for which the Legal Aid Council makes duty counsel representation each year. The Duty Counsel Service provides for free legal representation from a lawyer at the police station for persons arrested, detained, or remanded. The assigned counsel will visit the person in need and provide help at the various stages: the lockup, identification parade, interrogation, and apply for station bail or bail by the court. Lockup visits and bail application are free of cost and require no application form. Everyone has the right to justice through the country's justice system, even if they cannot afford the cost for legal services. The Legal Aid Council has been ensuring this restricted access to justice, and lawyers assigned complete hundreds of some 1,500 court cases annually, benefiting hundreds of children and adults. Legal aid is the system that provides legal representation for Jamaicans who can ill afford to pay for this service whenever they come in conflict with the law, thus ensuring access to justice for all persons without financial barriers. The organization established to support these services is the Legal Aid Council. The Legal Aid Council, a statutory body within the Ministry of Justice, governs the legal aid system. For court representation, the Legal Aid Council or the court office completes an application form on behalf of the client and assigns a lawyer to represent the client until the end of the matter. All attorneys assigned court matters are private attorneys required to vigorously defend the right of the client, take full instructions from the client, advise the client, and ensure the best outcome on behalf of the client. Cases involving murder matters only require assigned attorneys to have 10 years' experience or more. Where a defendant requires DNA, handwriting, or other specialized expertise to advance their case, the Legal Aid Council will undertake the cost for a client unable to afford these professional services. While the Legal Aid Council provides full representation in court for clients with criminal matters, the Council only provides consultations on civil matters before determining whether the individual can afford legal representation. Thereafter, the Council provides an attorney to assist with the court matter. The duty counsel representation from the point of arrest to the first court appearance is free, and it does not require the completion of an application form.
There are two main ways to access legal aid for criminal matters. One is the duty counsel stage. This is where a person has been taken into police custody and you're entitled to a lawyer, no application to fill out, no contribution fee to make from the moment you are taken into custody until your first court date. That is duty counsel. The officer has a duty to call duty counsel. Every station should have a list of the duty counsel available. If they don't, contact the legal aid counsel for an up-to-date list. If it's a family member that comes to the legal aid counsel or the clinics, if the person is in custody, not charged, no application form, no fees. The counsel or the clinic makes a call wherever the person is to an attorney who has his office near to that location and assigns the attorney. The attorney at the end of the matter sends in a claim to us. So the client makes no payment to the attorney.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the law firm of Stone and Brighton. How may I help you?
So the duty counsel is mandated to ensure that all the rights set out in the law for question and answer are observed for you as a citizen. All the rights and protection surrounding ID parades are maintained. Additionally, if the lawyer observes a child, any person under 18 being held at an adult lockup, that lawyer must make an application for the child to be removed to a juvenile facility. So that's the duty counsel stage. For the court aspects, if the judge observes that the person is without a lawyer, the judge will invite the clerk or assistant clerk to interview the person and grant legal aid. So the citizen is protected at every stage. At the duty council stage, some people would have been released after the ID parade, released after the question and answer. But for those who have been charged, you're entitled now to a lawyer to represent you during the trial. For that, there's an application form that the court would fill out, or the legal aid council or a clinic would fill out. And you may be asked to make a contribution. But the person who is not able to make any contribution will be granted help. If the means test shows that at the time you're not able to pay anything, then it would be zero contribution. So it is designed in a way that it helps rather than it obstructs. The client will basically be stating whether they have any income and any expenditure, the bills they have to pay, number of children that they have to support, etc.
The Legal Aid Council pays the private lawyer for his or her services to the legal aid client at the completion of the matter. If the client can contribute towards the process, they make payments at any branch of Scotiabank and not to the lawyer.
That contribution, there's no deadline on it. If the person says at the next month end, we are flexible. What we find now is that more Jamaicans are now able to approach the court, and whether funds are there or not, whether unemployed or not, they now can approach the court being represented by counsel. So a lawyer is there to put forward your defense, to speak on your behalf. And we have helped persons who were convicted. And in fact, in one instance, we provided a DNA report at the appeal level, and we were successful.
The council continues in its bid to reach more persons in need across the country using a Justice mobile unit acquired through the Citizen Security and Justice Program and its international partners. The unit has been taking the service to some 50 communities, particularly in rural Jamaica and the inner city, yearly.
Public gardens, with their captivating beauty, are natural attractions with a vast repertoire of plant life. These spaces form part of our national treasures and history and provide an avenue not just for relaxation and entertainment, but also an opportunity to learn about the different plant species that form these oases. Watch this.
We're here in St. Thomas at one of the oldest botanical gardens in the Western Hemisphere, the Bath Botanical Gardens. This is the beginning of a journey to discover the scientific, cultural and historical value of public gardens. Come now, let's explore these national and natural treasures. So what differentiates a public garden from a regular place where flowers and trees grow?
A public garden is an institution where plants are collected for the purpose of education, research, conservation, and recreation.
Along with Bath, there are 3 other public gardens on the island: Castleton in St. Mary and Hope and Syncona Gardens, both in St. Andrew. The public can access these venues at no cost. Today, we'll be exploring Bath and Castleton. Except for Hope Gardens, the Public Gardens Division of the Ministry of Agriculture, Commerce, Industry and Fisheries, MICAF, preserves and maintains these natural beauties.
The objective then of the public garden is to conserve the biodiversity of plant life in the island. So we are here to ensure that the plants are maintained, they are conserved, they are preserved, that research is conducted on them so that generations and generations will have that area.
Bath Botanical Garden was the first public garden established on the island. As a research site, imported plants were introduced here to assess how they would adapt to the tropical environment.
Food that Jamaicans love, like breadfruit, was first introduced to this garden by Captain Bly. He came here with the breadfruit, the Aki and OTT apple. Those are the famous ones. Other plants were introduced to the garden that people see all the time, the bougainvilleas, the crotons. All of these were first introduced to the gardens.
Constant flooding from the nearby sulfuric spring destroyed many of the plants and led to a decline of the garden. Though nowhere near its former glory, the space still provides the opportunity for persons to come and enjoy nature's bounty.
Bath is a beautiful garden. It's one of the gardens that has the atmosphere that you come in here. It's a cool, calming environment that I would encourage anybody to come. If you want to study, you can come here and study. If you want to just come out with your church group, want to come out with any little grouping, or even yourself and a friend can come and walk and learn about the different plants that are in the garden.
Bath's fall saw the rise of this location as the premier growing spot for exotic plants in Jamaica.
The garden you're visiting is Kingston Botanical Garden. It was owned by a man called Colonel Castle. Colonel Castle traveled all over the country and bring plants from different countries and plant here. So when he get old, he donated to the government of Jamaica. The government finished cultivate it and give it its name, Kingston Botanical Garden.
Growing here are many of the plants introduced on the island in the 19th and 20th century. These include poinciana, Bombay mango, navel orange, and tangerine.
One time it had over 400 palms. I think we're down to 180 species. So you have an area dedicated to the various palms that were introduced into the gardens. You also have rare fruits like mangosteen, and they have another one, the red velvet apple, that you wouldn't find anywhere else.
This is the Phoenix palm. When you knock it like this with a stone, it gives you sound. Why it gave you that sound? Because it's hollow inside. The more it grows old, the more it expands hollow.
Educational tours are just some of the offerings here at Castleton. But you can stop by for a swim if that's your thing. Perhaps a cookout is more your flavor. Or set up a spot on the lawn and bask in the glory of the great outdoors. Our expedition of the historic Bath and diverse Castleton Gardens ends here. Syncona and hope await, but in another edition of Jamaica Magazine. Until then, keep looking out.
This is where our journey ends today, but be sure to join us again tomorrow for another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. Until then, continue to watch these and other programs by logging on to our website, jis.gov.jm, or subscribing to our YouTube channel. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry, urging you to stay COVID-19 free.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.